going for lawsuit information because I wanted to cover this lawsuit over on LawTube because that's where I spend most of my time. So I started getting tipped off that Ryan Lee was going to have information about the lawsuit. So I start listening to her content, hoping that it's going to be something about all of it. So apparently the timeline that's going on here is the first thing that happened was, I guess, Ryan was contacted by Christy, Gypsy's family, so on and so forth. And she was making content, not talking about what was happening, but almost using it as like a plot point of like, I know something you don't know, you know, that kind of thing. It was just kind of weird. But so that was going on in the background, right? So what I understand was that this it takes a considerable amount of time to write a complaint over what that lawsuit is over. So they would have had to collect a substantial amount of evidence, verify all the screenshots, and someone has to actually sit, find the case law, and sit and research it. So this isn't something that happens overnight. So apparently at one point in time, Ryan was talking about how she had assisted them to get together the evidence that was going to be used in the complaint. Okay, that's fine. But somewhere along the line, it didn't happen in the time frame that she thought it was. So I'm 100% hoping somebody can back me up on the videos. But she actually said that they were all lying about the lawsuit and that they were doing all of this just to make content and make Gypsy's TV show popular, and that the lawsuit never happened.
Wait, Ryan said this?
Yes, she has a whole amount of videos.
I recorded all her lives
about
back then.
Oh, she doesn't have it posted.
Right, she deleted all this content, but she was saying that they just lied to her about all this and made up the whole lawsuit just because they're trying to like manufacture interest in the TV show, and that it was like
He said
a whole
that.
thing to pit creators back and forth about each other. Meanwhile, if I had to sit and write that complaint, I want to say that would have taken me 2 to 3 weeks. That's just how these things go. So she just, I guess the timeline she was given didn't fit with what she thought was going to pop up, and she didn't have this
She wanted
huge...
to be so fast.
Right, so she wanted to go faster, and then she just assumed that everybody was lying and that everybody used her as part of some like internet conspiracy to make people argue, and it was just a very bizarre amount of content that was saying that basically that Gypsy's making up being in a lawsuit, that this isn't true. Like I've never, all this is deleted. I know this exists. I need somebody to please tell me that this.
They're backing up in the comments, and you know I have it recorded.
One second.
But she just decided, you know, I guess things weren't moving fast enough.
Hey, y'all, one second. I need to pause this for a second, but it's emergency. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, shoot, I don't know how to, shoot. Okay, no, it's not letting me pause
They
it.
also heard her say this.
So I'm not going to say anything personal about anybody. I'm just sticking to completely discussion of the lawsuit. So the only time I've watched Ryan's lives is when I was trying to get tipped off where this was going to be filed and so on and so forth.
All right, y'all, hold on 1 second. Don't say anything yet, because I need to block somebody. It's important that I block them. 1 second.
Sure.
Okay, we'll pause. Belle, thank you so much for joining.
Oh, thanks. I knew I was going to get accused of being you and being festering fancy, and it's like, I actually talked to you all and we're friendly, and it's kind of bizarre that these people have no other rhetoric to go with other than that we're all just the same person in different accounts all at the same time. Like, this is a new one on me, I gotta say.
I have never seen anything like this in my entire life.
Yeah. I mean, they doxed my identity. I worked at a dungeon in Manhattan as a dominatrix for years.
Okay, there we go. All right, we're good now.
Okay, so there was a huge amount of content where she felt like they had just lied to her and pretended to be in a lawsuit, and all that content was deleted. I'm like, what? And then when the lawsuit was filed and it was discovered and it was, you know, the case started to pop up when it showed up on Missouri CaseNet.
She's like, I did this.
She basically like, oh yeah, I actually have been behind this the whole time. And then she gave really incorrect legal commentary saying that the fraud charge that Fancy was being brought up on had to do with COVID-19, which no, that's not true. The actual dates were in the lawsuit are referring to a theft charge, I want to say in 98 in Riverside, California. So she was giving really wrong information about the lawsuit. And then there was a is she or isn't she, where there was almost like a plot line where she was trying to imply that she was going to be testifying as a witness. I don't know what's going on there. But there's absolutely nothing in the lawsuit where I believe she could have ever been a witness. You know, a lot of the lawsuit is going over contracts that Fancy made with the family that would have been.
There was only one person that was going to be a witness from the creators, and it wasn't her. It wasn't me either. It wasn't her.
Yeah, I don't know what, I mean, I'm sure she helped them, but I don't think there would have been anything that she could, you know, swear to, because she's actually never met Fancy. None of this happened or she saw it in person. She's been an online friend to these people, but she wasn't there when these contracts were struck. She wasn't, you know, she did have access to Fancy's server for a while and does have knowledge of things, but in order to be, you know, a witness for the prosecution, you would absolutely
you
have
gotta
to
follow me in this
have-
live. Do you seriously gotta follow me in this live? You ain't nothing but a stupid stalker. Are you having fun?
Okay, calm
Follow me
down.
around.
Hey, let Belle
Hold
finish.
on.
Yeah, I got to step down a second because I'm working on my house. But in order to be a witness, you can't have hearsay. You have to actually have firsthand knowledge. And a
he's
lot
gonna
of
be
what was
sorry.
collected wouldn't have been something that she would have had direct knowledge of any of this, and happened before she even met Fancy. So, you know, with all respect here, it's just, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt whenever we're talking about the law or whenever we're talking about a lawsuit, because this is, you know, such an esoterical thing that I spent a decade learning how to read these, and someone can get them wrong. So I've showed Ryan a lot of grace when I originally started listening to her lawsuit commentary. But I just wanted to bring up that there was a whole other set of commentary before that just got deleted. And, you know, I have no ill will. I've said some rude things in here in the last hour or so out of frustration. And because, you know, there's people now that I found out who have used anonymous accounts to say things about me. And I don't care what people think about me, believe it or not.
You couldn't, girl. Ryan,
But I just wanted to comment on the lawsuit because there was a huge amount of content she was making over this, and I
That's all
failed to
she
see
cared
how,
about.
or I failed to see how she either one was misinformed about what was going on, or two kind of was wanting to make it into something that was embellishing her knowledge of this, if that makes sense. And this is just something that when you
That's
start to find
literally
out
what
that
she did. She embellished her role in it and didn't have as much to do with it as she likes to make everybody
And you know
think
what?
she did.
I'm sure she was led to believe things that didn't happen anywhere, because lawsuits, people think one thing is going on, something else. Again, not criticizing, it's just a very technical thing to get into. And this is something where, I mean, Nina too has given complete wrong information on the lawsuit too. I've been the one behind the scenes telling people that this is not a First Amendment case. This is contract law and intellectual property. So, you know, that's something, if anybody ever wants to do a live on that, I would love to give legal commentary on that. But, you know, I've just watched all these people giving complete wrong information. And to those of us that work on the legal side, it's like, there's nothing more embarrassing to me when people call themselves true crime creators and they have very little knowledge of the law, because you have to know some about this to speak on it. I'm sorry. And if you don't know, get help. Ask someone to edit you. I edit things for exposing all the time, you know? It's just,
Yes,
you have
you're
to find someone to
amazing.
work with if you're going to make this kind of commentary. So that's about it, guys.
So, Belle, may I ask you a question, since you kind of know some legal things?
Yes.
So, what do you know about taking a pew-pew across state lines?
So the actual discussion that you're talking about, that is interesting because to be a convicted felon or to have those types of charges, you actually wouldn't ever be issued a concealed carry permit. I'm not going to go into nuances or discuss that person, but if you want to get into some lore of the internet, please take a look at how a few different creators on TikTok, how they have ended up incarcerated, and it was all due to weapons charges. That's one of the fastest ways to get yourself in trouble. So that's been an interesting thing. And like we've said, you know, I completely have an amazing friendship now with Rez and Fez, and I question whether some people should have weapons, considering, you know, a lot of their erratic behavior.
Okay, so like last night in Fancy's Live, So if you guys go to her video, it's 5.5 hours long, and about the 17 mark, she starts talking about a letter that she is going to send to the governor of Missouri. And in the letter, she wants Dan Patterson taken down. She wants Mike Stanfield taken down. She wants Gypsy taken down, Christy and Rod taken down. She has some other content creators that she wants taken down. She mentioned Bree by name, first name, last name. She also mentioned someone named Sarah, who
Okay.
I guess drove her to Missouri, and
Yes.
she had a pew pew in her purse, and she's a convicted felon.
So I'm going to address two things with this. First, there's been kind of a LOL suit going on here, which
Yes.
there's a site that I choose to not discuss here, but there's a whole section on LOL suits. And it's been interesting to see what Fancy has filed in her own defense. She's been representing herself pro se, and she's actually never filed any motion. She just wrote a sob letter to the court. There was no motions ever filed. And then when she started coming at us in comments, I said, yeah, no, you cannot. She was saying the reason she never filed a motion was because you have to be an attorney to digitally submit, a motion. Well, yeah, you mailed a letter. You can actually, the reason she never filed a motion was because you have to be an attorney to digitally submit, a motion. Well, yeah, you mailed a letter. You can actually, the reason she never filed a motion was because you have to be an attorney to digitally submit, a motion. Well, yeah, you mailed a letter. You can actually mail a motion that you type out and send to the court. So it's just been interesting, and where I will call Fancy out on this, which I've done to her, fucking mail a motion that you type out and send to the court. So it's just been interesting, and where I will call Fancy out on this, which I've done to her fucking face over and over, is she likes to use the fear of the law to throw at people, and then you have people that even come into our Reddit that are, in law. It's just kind of funny to us because things that she's saying are so far off base, and you're expecting us to believe that you're suing all of us, but then also you're in about 5 or so, don't quote me with the number, subsequent lawsuits in this. And, like I've said before, as I always play nice, I wish Fancy all the best in her taking the LSAT, and I think that law school will be a great experience that will teach her how to argue from fact and not from fallacy.
Yes, and she's also going for forensic psychology.
No,
All
she
of the
already got that.
All of the
So anyway-
screenshots of Fancy coming at us about this are on Reddit.
So
It's actually kind of funny because we mentioned some other lawsuits that we've found,
Yeah.
and these are all public documents. We're not exposing anything that's not public knowledge. And it's just, you have someone that claims on one hand that they're, representing themselves and that they know the law. And then there's just been part of the reason that I started making commentary on this was, months back, I watched Fancy tell someone the complete wrong amendment, and she doesn't know about the 5th and the 6th Amendment. So she was talking about how you should have a counselor, you should have someone that would be in an interrogation that would be able to tell you not to say something. And it's like, yes, we already have that, and you can stop at any time and request a lawyer. Like, you're aware this is already in the 5th and 6th Amendments. Like, have you ever read them?
So she also wants the governor to try and find out who sent her corn.
Wait, y'all, I didn't want to get too far off because we're almost done this
And-
message.
Oh,
She
yeah.
also wants the governor to try to find out who sent her the Wendy's through DoorDash.
Yeah, so if on a lighter note, I'd recommend that you take a look at her Twitter because she also has a interesting relationship tweeting at our governor here in Kentucky. So
Oh, yeah.
she just likes to send letters.
Um,
All right, I'm getting yelled at for not contributing to putting up a wall unit. So I will chat with you guys later.
All right, thank you.
Love you, Bill.
Bye.
Bye.
all right. So,
Yes, Boston. I agree.
okay. So, girl, you talked a whole lot more than what I said. Blah blah blah. Was none of your damn business, and you have no idea what all went on.